this is CathyNan's Herbal ABC, and I'm CathyNan. I'm called that because that's what my oldest grandson likes to call me, which is relevant because this series, this ABC that I'm going to be doing, is because I'm putting a book together for a little legacy to my grandchildren. They've all learned a little bit, whether they wanted to or not, about herbs with their nanny, and actually have shown quite a lot of interest, and it's lovely to be able to pass on my little bit of knowledge. And that's what this is also about, is that I have got quite a lot of knowledge put together now, and I don't want it to go nowhere. So yeah, I'm making the book for my grandkids and sticking this out on YouTube, and we'll see what happens to it. Yeah, it's about sharing my love of herbs and my faith in some of the remedies that we'll be talking about. And it's a two-way thing. So please feel free to comment constructive criticism where you think that maybe I've got something wrong, want to talk about it, it's fine. And also any ideas extending our communal knowledge about each herb. And I've chosen this format, quite a simple format, so that I stay on track, because I will veer off all over the place. Quite passionate about my subject, and I can always think of something to say. So what I'm going to do is, it's going to not be, if anything, fast-paced about this whatsoever. The technology, although I'm getting some excellent help elsewhere, my knowledge, I hope, will improve during the series. Yeah, so please don't expect anything too flashy. It's not going to happen. Okay, so the format that I've taken is this. So first, every time I will tell you the herb and its name, and also any Latin names or traditional folk names, whatever that I know of. Especially as some of the folk names tell us 10 times more than the Latin names do about, well, that's not true. I mean, if your knowledge of Latin is there, of course Latin names tell you something, but the folk names tell you something that's really inherent in our history, and it's a lovely way to learn about the herbs, is to learn why they're called what they're called. Then the first thing I'll go into every time after the name is the cautions. So I will say, to start with, if you have anything serious wrong with you, of course consult a professional practitioner. My main philosophy about all these herbs is that if you keep gently looking after yourself every day, then the likelihood of you falling for some of the more serious diseases is lessened. And also, if you do fall, then your recovery time is, I think, quickened, made faster. And the whole process becomes a little bit easier. I've seen my friends drop, and my system is such that I can kind of get anything and it doesn't hit me too hard. I mean, if, you know, I could get berry and die tomorrow, and that would make me sound like a hypocrite. But on a general level, my health is pretty good, especially for my age, and I'm on no pharmaceuticals whatsoever. Okay, I will own up to the odd ibuprofen, and I've had a very rough winter, which I'll tell you more about because it is again relevant because of the herbs that I use to look after myself. And that's what this is all about as well, really, is we can look after ourselves. We don't need to go running to the doctor for everything. We were taught that we should. But now, as most of you realise, these things are letting us down. And also the pharmaceuticals that are used, quite often the side effects are far worse than the original problem. So I've got a million reasons why I respect herbs so much. I'm going to stop now because if I do it too long, the technology doesn't like it. So I'm going to come back in a second. So this is the second part of my general introduction to CathyNan's Herbal ABC. After the cautions, we'll go through the cautions quickly first. So I will go through these cautions at the beginning of every herb that I talk about, primarily just to get it over with, so that we can get on to all the good stuff. And also, if you are in the category of people that this herb wouldn't be particularly good for, you can switch off if you want to. So I'll tell you straight up. I mean, the most sensitive people usually with the herbs are pregnant women, and I will always tell you if it's slightly dangerous for a pregnant women to be using each herb. And apart from that, most of the herbs I use are not dangerous. They will be dangerous to some people just about the same way as almost anything else is. If that's the case, I will tell you. Okay, so then I'll go on to the actions of each herb and their medicinal uses and what they can help prevent and sometimes cure. Quite simple, but it'll take some explaining for each herb. Then we'll go on to preparation, and the preparation that I'm using mainly is the preparations that I use, and because my lifestyle is quite hectic usually, these preparations take no time at all, and they take no great medicinal knowledge. Quite often teas, sometimes an ointment, sometimes a tincture, nothing very complicated. This will change. I've only had my most recent gardens a few years. And as, of course, they grow more mature, I have more herbs to harvest. And so my ambitions on how to use those herbs are going to change. Basically pretty basic preparation. And now the recognition of each herb. So the herbs I'm using are all either easy to grow, easy to find, or very cheap to buy in this country. This was my premise when I first started collating 5 years ago. Started to collate the knowledge I got from the course that I did, which covered everything, Ayurvedic and Chinese, which is all wonderful. And I can certainly chat about that sort of thing. But I wanted this first alphabet anyway to be totally about stuff that you can do yourself and that involve very little money. Mainly because I learned about herbs because I was a single mum of 3 kids, because the doctors was a long way away, because I had become disillusioned completely with the pharmaceutical industry, especially in the face of what the treatments they were trying to give me for my children. And that was when I genned up and started looking at alternatives, as did many, 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 many of us. I certainly wasn't alone. But I've kept at it. And being quite extreme in nature, I wanted to delve into exactly how we could look after ourselves. And I'm kind of spent the rest of my life doing that, really, more or less. So after recognition, which will help you with planting, but also, of course, foraging, we'll go on to how to grow these herbs, most of which I will have some experience of. I've been a gardener quite a lot in my life. And again, most of them are going to be pretty easy to grow because they're largely native plants, because that's my premise in doing this. After that, I go to permaculture. This is a subject that's very dear to my heart, and we will be going into why every plant that we look at is not only good for us, but it's also good for the soil and the environment in general, and the wildlife and the bees and everything. Permaculture is very important to me, and it's going to be an interesting little section of this series, I think. Then I'm going to go into the phytochemicals, and I will stutter and stammer because it's all the science, and I do know this stuff, but it nevertheless trips me up quite a lot. Just so that you know which constituents of each herb is the active constituents that are going to cause an effect. After that, I go to the magic, the folklore of the plants. We have to respect the fact that these plants have been around for a long, long while, and people all over the world have got very similar, actually, stories about each herb. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then we'll go in, at the very end, we'll go in and do a little tarot spread for the influence which each herb. Now, I started learning my herbalism from culpepper, and I would thoroughly recommend anybody who wants to study herbs to look at him. And he was very knowledgeable about the astrology of the herbs, which planet ruled which herb and that sort of thing. So I'll be going into that. And as I say, the tarot. So that's it. So that's what my CathyNan's Herbal ABCs basically going to look like. Okay, good afternoon. It's about 4:30 here. I've got the blinds behind me down. I've turned things round. Got the blinds behind me down because there's still a bit of sunlight. There's still a bit too much sunlight coming in to film properly. Today we're talking about C for Chamomile and CathyNan's Herbal ABC. And we're talking about Roman chamomile, the Latin for which is Camomile nobile. You can see the spelling. I've put this sheet of my book up. It's gradually improving as we go, and hopefully that will continue. So Camomile nobile is the name for Roman chamomile, and German chamomile is called Matricaria recutita in Latin, quite possibly mispronounced. It's also known as the wig plant, wig as in Tory, so I don't know what the reason for that is. Quite interesting. And if I remember, I'll look it up. It's also called Maythen, ground apple and scented mayweed. And the May part of that is when you can expect to first be able to harvest chamomile. And the apple bit is, the ground apple is about its growing habit and also its scent. So you can expect chamomile, as one of the ways to recognise, as we'll go into later, is the scent of apple. I'm going to start with the contraindications and cautions and warnings. To start with, don't exceed your dosage. Chamomile is normally antiemetic, which means that it stops you from feeling nauseous or vomiting. But if you overdo it, it could possibly be emetic. It could actually cause that very nausea and vomiting. Avoid while pregnant, although small amounts of German chamomile is probably okay, as it's the German chamomile is very, very much weaker. Don't ingest essential oil. This goes for all essential oils, including chamomile. Okay, so that's the cautions over, and then we'll go on to the actions. So the actions of German chamomile are similar to those of Roman chamomile, but much less potent. Externally, chamomile can be used for nappy rash, dry skin, or skin irritation. Chamomile is an antispasmodic, a mild analgesic, and an anti-inflammatory. It's a bitter and a carminative. Carminative means it's going to help you fart if you need to fart, stop you farting if you don't need to. So it's about gas in your stomach. It is desensitizing to the skin. Chamomile is also a mild tranquilizer, and it can prevent convulsions and is, as I said, generally antiemetic. So it's calming everything down, this plant, this wonderful plant. In the correct dosage, chamomile can prevent nausea, vomiting, indigestion, and loss of appetite. It stimulates digestive secretions. So you're going to get rid of what needs getting rid of with chamomile. It relaxes the muscles of the gut. Because of this, it can prevent nausea and indigestion, which come from emotional upset. So particularly Virgo people, I think, and even more particularly Virgo men, tend to suppress their feelings, their emotions, and it turns into tummy upsets. Chamomile's your best bet. A cup of chamomile tea to maybe make them fart, but also to calm down anyway, anything turbulent that's going on in the gut, especially from emotional upset. And it's able to normalise the digestive system. It's also been recommended for travel sickness. Now, I made the big mistake when using chamomile this way with my, I think she was about 6-year-old at the time, my granddaughter, and I tried to use the essential oil, but of course it was too obvious, it was too strong, it overwhelmed her, and she won't go near it now. What I should have done was mix a little bit of chamomile with water and use it as a spray in the car before she got in, so that she didn't have any idea that it was all about her for a start, so that kind of stressed her out, so that it added to the stress rather than relieving the stress of travelling. So it wouldn't have made it all about her, and she would have got the goodness of chamomile without, and now she associates the smell of chamomile with the stress rather than it doing its job. So I'm sorry to my granddaughter, messed that one up. Yeah, another time I would definitely do that, especially with the child. I think it's a little bit different with some adults. I mean, some adults would be the same. You'd rather just have a little spray in the car before they get in, or in the room if it was, maybe about the emotional upset. You spray essential oil diluted with water in the room before they come in, rather than making it all about them and adding to their distress, if you like. Okay, so chamomile's anti-inflammatory properties unite with its anti-allergenic properties to be helpful in most skin conditions. It's very helpful in cases of facial neuralgia as well. So calming down that nervous, stressful reaction can be very painful, and chamomile's famously valuable for this kind of thing, but also in preventing insomnia for very much the same reason, relaxing that, taking away that stress that you're not going to sleep, that then forms a vicious circle and doesn't let you sleep. But also can prevent Meniere's disease. You can see it written down, but it's MENI with the accent going downwards on the E, RE'(S), disease, Meniere's disease, which is an ear condition which causes sudden attacks of vertigo. So again, often caused by nervous problems. Will also be of use in cases of gastrointestinal irritation with diarrhea. Okay, so that's your wonderful things that chamomile can do. I'd also like to say about how precious the homeopathic Chamomile teething granules are. Amazing for babies who are teething. You just see the panic and the redness all leave their little faces immediately with chamomile. It works like magic on most kids. Certainly a go-to with all three of mine when they were teething. And to watch just the redness of their little face just leave like almost immediately. It helps that they're quite sweet little granules that you use, but instantly all the fear and the stress and the panic just leaves their little faces. Yeah, it's excellent. Okay, we're going to go on to the preparation next. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the preparation. I did turn things around mainly because I wanted to see. I will veer off the subject. I did promise this. So I haven't got any chamomile on this is my first drying rack. So this is the first stage when I bring my herbs back from my garden. Got my drying rack, so we've got lemon verbena here. It's very fresh. It smells gorgeous in here. I've got lemon verbena fighting with the lilies behind me for attention. So it's a lovely smell. This is the first stage, so I'll leave them up here just till I've got time to deal with them, really. I've got some rosemary. It's been hanging here for a while. And when I get a second, preferably... see the rosemary, preferably outside, I'll strip the leaves from the branches and take it to the next stage. So I've got a nice black aera dryer that I can hang outside. Sometimes it hangs in my hall. I'll show you another day. Which has actually got chamomile in it, 2 stages of chamomile. But yeah, this is my first port of call. I've also got this massive job to do, and these are going to stay here for quite a while because this is Nigella, black onion seed, not black onion seed, sorry, black onion seed. It's known as a really integral part of Indian cuisine, but also really good for my poorly shoulder. And I'm spent this winter spending a lot of money to get black onion seed, where all the time I had Nigella growing like crazy, and I was a bit profligate with the results of the harvest of my last year's Nigella, giving it away here, there and everywhere, only to be stuck with buying it to relieve this shoulder problem that I've got. So this year I'm not giving any of my seed away. I'm going to plant. Still got plenty of Nigella in one garden that I look after, but I will be planting it in my immediate outside garden as well, because I think I can use all the seed that I get. So hence this is going to be on my easel, which has never yet been used for anything artistic. One day I will. But at the moment it's serving very well as a kind of first stage drying rack. And this other bag that's on here is I just wanted to show you how simple this stuff is. So after it's been in my black area and on here, it then goes in brown paper bags, which can spend a little bit more time in the light. The drying process is well and truly underway. They're not going to go mouldy in the carrier bags, and they're not getting too much light either. So the drying process will just continue for a little while until I can either incorporate them in my teas or store them in jars. And again, it's always best to keep things in like that in the dark, or in brown paper bags, or in brown paper bags in jars if you want to. You'll think of your own ways of doing it. I'm just here to tell you that it doesn't necessarily have to be a complicated process. You don't necessarily have to get a degree in herbalism to use this stuff in your home to make yourself feel better. You're not going to die as long as you follow a few simple rules that have been laid down for thousands of years, and science has not proved any of them to be false, certainly as far as I know. So please do tell me if you know something that I don't, but I'm pretty well read. Studied this stuff quite a lot. So we're going to talk about the preparation of chamomile. So chamomile's flowers are used to make an essential oil. Essential oil it's just a distillation of a plant usually, which keeps the smell of the plant and its properties. So yeah, very intense. As I say, you should never ingest it. But it's a fantastic essential oil. It's one of the most expensive of the oils. So it's really worth looking after any chamomile that pops up indiscriminately in your garden, or that you can buy quite cheaply. Really good herb to have. The reason that the oils are so expensive, even though some of these plants like lemon balm is another one, Melissa is a very expensive essential oil, and chamomile is too, and it's because the distillation process requires an awful lot of the plant to get very little oil. So it's lovely to use chamomile oil. You can spray some on your pillow. If you're having trouble getting to sleep, you can have a nice bath with chamomile oil in. And I'd say about 10 drops for a bath. And another popular use is the chamomile is the homeopathic remedy, which I spoke about a little bit already with the babies and the teething problems. So you can make tea by infusing 4 to 6, that's all it takes, flower heads to 1 cup of boiling water. So if you're going to make a pot, about 4 cups worth. And that's the other thing you can do. You can make this tea and drink it cold later on. It's not like it's not like leaving a cup of black tea with milk in it to cool down and expecting it to be tasty. It's a totally different thing. It's quite nice to drink cold chamomile tea. So 4 to 6 flower heads to a cup of boiling water. So maybe 4 times that much. So maybe 16 to 24 flower heads for a full pot that you can get 4 cups out of. Infuse it for 15 minutes. So it's no different to making a black tea from the leaf. The dosage is generally half to 1 cup as needed. So you could make this chamomile tea and keep it in the fridge and come back to it tomorrow. Absolutely fine. For a tincture, a tincture is made by dissolving a plant in alcohol, basically. Really simple process. So you're talking about 1 part chamomile to 5 parts ethanol, which is 45%, or vodka, 40% vodka. And the dosage would be 3 to 5 mils. And to make any tincture, you can fill a jar halfway with the herb and then fill to the top with vodka. And as I said, when I was talking about borage, the vodka isn't 40% anymore, but I have been reassured that it's okay to use 37.5%. Maybe take a little bit longer for your tincture to get ready, and I would say 6 to 8 weeks. So if you go to the 8 weeks end, if you're using 40% vodka, to make sure that the herbs released all its good properties into the vodka. So halfway with the herb, fill it to the top with vodka. May want to go back after you've done it, a day after you've done it, and see how it's sunk down if you need any more of the liquid to fill it up. Leave it for at least 6 up to 8 weeks. It's called the maceration process. Maceration just means the soaking or softening of the herb. And the jar should be kept in a dark cupboard all this time. So you put it in your kitchen cupboard in the dark, take it out once every 2 or 3 days, give it a good shake, put it back in the cupboard. So it's a rough guide. This is just a rough guide. If you want to monitor your dosage more accurately than this, you can follow the measurements that I've given you for each herb more accurately. But this is what I do with my herbs, and they give up their properties quite easily into the liquid. Okay. Okay, we're talking about recognising and growing our chamomile. So Roman chamomile is a creeper. It grows about 3 to 4 inches high. It's a perennial, as long as the winter is mild. So it's not a perennial. If you have a really harsh winter, it'll get killed off. This may be why it grows better in the south of the UK rather than the north. Its leaves and flowers are both thicker and more substantial than the German chamomile. And Roman chamomile is what you would choose to grow as a lawn as well. You know, the chamomile lawns were very popular. And you see people who've done beds as well, really pretty. with Roman chamomile. Has a strong apple smell in both the leaves and the flowers. Excuse me, I've got a cough. This is my first cough that I've had since I've given up smoking tobacco. So I gave up smoking tobacco about a month ago. And this is the first time, it feels different. I don't think it sounds particularly different to when I had a smoker's cough. But I think it might be to do with this, I mean, it's turned into a cold as well, but I think it might be something to do with the volcano erupting recently. It won't be that recent when you get this, because we're doing it weekly. I'm a little bit ahead of myself, and especially on these first 4, we're trying to get things right. So yeah, German chamomile is self-seeding, annual, growing to a height of 6 inches to 2 feet. And mostly I've got German chamomile in my garden, but I was given a Roman chamomile. I think it's a Roman chamomile. I had a little chew of a leaf today and it did kind of taste appley. I haven't eaten a flower yet, so I will try. Yeah, and the German chamomile has more delicate ferny leaves, and only the flowers smell of apples, not the whole plant, not the leaves as well. Both chamomiles look similar to pineapple weed, but it's easy to distinguish, as pineapple weed smells obviously of pineapple. Lots of people have pineapple weed in their garden and mistake it for chamomile, but yeah, it's pineapple weed. And pineapple weed has its own good properties, but we're not going into that here, obviously. Not the same as chamomile. So to grow chamomile, you can sow chamomile seeds indoors in late spring and then transplant into light, well-drained soil in a sunny spot or into pots. If you want a lawn, you should plant seedlings 4 inches apart. Seedlings will need regular watering in dry periods and should be clipped regularly to stop them getting leggy. If you grow chamomile in pots, you will need feet on the pots to prevent excess moisture in the winter. They can be divided in autumn, and you can harvest the newly opened flowers in summer, starting from May. So now we're going to talk about the permaculture of chamomile. It's a fertiliser. It drags up minerals such as potassium, phosphorus and calcium through its roots. When chamomile is chopped and dropped, the mulch and roots will both feed the soil and it will retain its bushiness. So it's good for the plant and for the surrounding soil if you chop and drop it. I'll just briefly explain, and I have explained about every herb, but if you're new to this, the chop and drop method is very simple. You simply chop the plant down and leave it where it is, so the roots remain in the soil to carry on giving all these lovely minerals to the plants and soil around it. And the leaves act as a mulch, the aerial parts of the plant, flowers and leaves that are left on the plant and you've chopped it, it acts as a mulch, so they help to suppress plants that you don't particularly want. And again, their goodness also leaches into the soil. Chamomile has been called the plant doctor because it supports and heals other plants so well. The flowers attract pollinators and its leaves attract other beneficial insects. It's a great companion plant, especially for cabbages and onions. So always plant chamomile near your cabbages and onions, or plant your cabbages and onions where your chamomile has popped up in your garden. It's also often part of a fruit tree guild And we spoke about these guilds when we talked about borage. And a guild is really when you've got a fruit tree or any other plants really, but the fruit tree guilds are very popular, very useful, because each plant contributes to a symbiotic relationship between all the plants and the tree. So chamomile is a great ground cover as part of the understory of a fruit tree guild. Chamomile has high calcium, which keeps the compost sweet smelling, as it stops acidification. So it would be useful to sometimes give your compost a nice cup of chamomile tea. I'm going to tell you a little bit now about the permaculture zones, because I remembered wrong and thought I knew. I do this a lot. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zones, not 7 zones as I originally said. It's actually 6 zones, because the first zone is zone 0, and that's you, your home, your family, and the centre of everything. This is a permaculture concept which I find and other people have found very, very useful, especially when deciding what to put where. So a permaculture premise is that you don't actually go rushing in and put anything anywhere. You give it a year of observation. So you see all the seasons through, so you end up knowing where the wind is coming from at what time of year, where there's likely to be frost pockets, loads of stuff you can look into to make sure that you're planting the perfect thing in the perfect place, especially if you've got a massive bit of land. I'm not playing on a massive bit of land, so I'm just trying to follow some of these concepts with the little bit of land that I've got. So zone 0, as I said, you, your home, your family, and the centre of everything. Zone 1 is the most frequently visited. So you'd maybe have herbs, salad veg, seedlings, your worm farm. You'd visit these things either daily or twice daily. It's pretty much the same concept as any garden would be run, really. Little bit of common sense, if you're going to be popping in and out in all weathers to get herbs and salad veg, you want them quite close to your home, and you want your seedlings there because they're your babies and you want to be keeping an eye on them. So it makes perfect sense. Zone 2 will be your veggies, your compost, your fruit trees, your chickens, your bees. So frequently visited. Maybe your pond and your shed. And we'd say these things you would perhaps visit daily. Some people may want their shed closer and some people might want their shed further away. Nothing's written in stone, and you make the intelligent decision for you, and the decision once made can still be amended. You change things according to your needs within permaculture. Zone 3 are things that you visit occasionally. So you're talking about if you're lucky enough to have an orchard, bees, any animals. So maybe once every 2-3 days. And then zone 4, again, if you've got animals that require a lot of attention, you're going to have them nearer to your home. These things are completely relative. Zone 4 would be things that you visit more rarely. So that bit of, if you're lucky enough to have enough land so you can have a bit of woodland. Foraging, where you're going to go foraging, where you're going to get your timber, where you're going to coppice wood, you'd go maybe once a week to these kind of places in zone 4. And in zone 5, it's out there. It's where you observe and learn. It's the natural, unmanaged world. It's the wild. Maybe bird tables can go in this zone 5. So that's the basic concept of this little ring, which is 0 to 5 zones. And that's what we're talking about in permaculture when we mention the zones. Okay. Okay, on to the phytochemicals. I'll try and rattle through these. The main constituents of chamomile are volatile oils. That's what it makes it so precious as an essential oil. Sesquiterpene lactones, flavonoids, coumarins and phenolic acids. Volatile oils are aromatic oils which are extracted from plants to obtain essential oils. They are often some of the most beneficial constituents of a plant. They are often antioxidant, just means it protects against the free radicals that may cause cancer. So if you see antioxidant, it's quite often cancer preventing. Anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, relaxing, anti-stress and helpful in pain management and skincare. Sesquiterpene lactones. These are sesquiterpenes with a lactone ring. They are mostly found in the Asteraceae family. That is asters, daisies, chamomile, etc. All those daisy-looking flowers that you can think of are Asteraceae. They are also found in celery, parsley, carrots, in the Umbelliferae family, and that means you've got that umbrella effect that you can see on a carrot. Fennel's got it, parsley's got it, where the flowers come up and make this kind of dome like an umbrella. And also in magnolias. So that's where you'll find your sesquiterpene lactones, and of course in chamomile. Sesquiterpene lactones prevent neurodegeneration, which just means degeneration of your brain. They are analgesic, so mild painkiller, anti-migraine, sedative, anti-tumour, antimicrobial, against cytotoxins, that's things that are toxic to your cells, such as toxic metals, toxic chemicals, microbe neurotoxins, the radiation particles, some neurotransmitters and some venom are all cytotoxins, and sesquiterpene lactones are very effective against them. Also anti-inflammatory. Flavonoids are polyphenolic secondary metabolites. The benefits for us humans include the following. They are antioxidant again, anti-inflammatory again, anti-cancer again. They offer pain relief again, and they are anti-diabetic, anti-allergy and antiviral, and they also protect brain function. Coumarins are crystalline solids with a sweet smell like vanilla and a bitter taste. They are anti-inflammatory. Chamomile does taste quite bitter. Anti-inflammatory, anticoagulant, antihypertensive, which means that they stop high blood pressure, anticonvulsant, antioxidant, microbial and neuroprotective. Okay, phenolic acids, mostly found in grains. They are chain-breaking antioxidants. They change cell signalling pathways as well as being antioxidant. They are also anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, cardiovascular, which means that it relates to the heart and blood. They're good for your heart and blood. Cardiovascular protection and neuroprotection and digestive. So that's your constituents of chamomile. So now we're going to the herbal lore and magic of chamomile. So I've seen chamomile associated with Venus and Taurus and Libra. Also Leo, Scorpio and the Sun. However, I tend to associate it mainly with the Sun because not only does it kind of resemble the Sun with its yellow centre, but it was also revered for its connection to the Sun by the Egyptians, Ra, the sun god, by the Greeks, Helios, and by the Celts, Cernunnos. I did look up the pronunciation, but I've forgotten it. Cernunnos or Cernunnos. Please do tell me. Please do tell me anything in the comments, anything that you want to, that you might think I've got a bit wrong or that you can improve on, or any nice preparations you can think of. As I said to start with, this is a two-way thing. I'm learning. This is precious to me as a learning experience. It's meaning that I can galvanize everything that I've been looking at for years into one little area, and so I can go forward from here. I'm learning every day with this stuff all the time. So yeah, as others too. So this association with the Sun is really big. Chamomile is used for purification and protection. In Egypt, the indigenous strain, Egyptian strain, was used to treat malaria and was also used in the mummification process. Chamomile protects itself too. And if a chamomile plant that is failing, so if you've got a chamomile plant that's not doing well, if you put another chamomile plant near it, it will improve. So they look after their own as well as looking after us. Chamomile is used for meditation. And you can plant with this calming, the mindfulness that goes with chamomile. And you'll know it, you'll feel it. If you have a day with your chamomile tea, you will feel the mindfulness and the calm and the serenity that's just a cup of tea away. Where are we? So you can plant it around your home as protection against physical or magical attack. Chamomile is another herb that used to be used by gamblers for luck. I mentioned about the alfalfa. They would wash their hands in water steeped in chamomile. Chamomile was also worn in the hair to attract a lover. It can be steeped in hot water for use in banishing rituals or sprinkled as a metaphysical barrier. So protection again. Pretty much I don't deal in magic massively. The most I will do is little protection things that I just think are quite nice, like it appeals to me that I can plant chamomile around my home and it'll make me feel a bit more cosy and secure. I don't have security cameras, so I don't see why I shouldn't plant a pot of chamomile. I've got no illusions that if somebody wants to come and murder me in my bed, they're going to do it, whatever. But I think all these things create a different atmosphere. I mean, if you're so about this calmness and this protection, you know, if you're watching violent movies all the time, if you live in a violent atmosphere all the time, if you're violent yourself, as I have been, not so much physically, but definitely verbally, and I've certainly been the victim of violence a couple of times, but it's all about this atmosphere that you create, and anything really that turns that atmosphere around into peaceful harmony. You know, a lot of people are never going to need this stuff because they already live in and have done since they were born. They've lived in this peaceful harmony. Well, good for you, but a lot of us haven't, and a lot of us feel quite helpless to do anything about it. I actually didn't understand until I was quite old that I can change my own mood. I was never aware that I could do that. We were taught yoga. I went to a grammar school, and because of that, we were lucky enough to get a yoga teacher really quite early on in this. I'm talking about in the 70s. Well, I never went because it was the last lesson on a Friday, so I'd rather skive off and clear off and have fun with my mates. And that really was the culture I was brought up in. Everybody laughed at that stuff where I was. Well, I've since found out how ignorant we were. So, yeah, anything that can cultivate a peaceful, harmonious and safe atmosphere for you is worth having a little go at, I think. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful to have chamomile around you. So where are we? Oh, can also be worn in the hair to attract a lover. You know, I'm not going to do that. And really, I'm not greatly into that. You know, be careful what you wish for. I think. So yeah. One of my little ideas is rather than telling my granddaughters to put chamomile in their hair to attract a lover, I'd rather give them a nice cup of Agnes Castus tea before they go out. Maybe tell them that's going to attract a lover. No, I wouldn't do that. But but let them believe it's, you know, going to bolster how attractive they are and everything. But actually, Agnes Castus is the chaste tree. So it would maybe remind them of being more careful who they're giving it up to when the time comes. I mean, they're only little yet, so I've got time to grow a bit of a tree before that happens. It can be steeped in hot water. What I'm trying to say about with all this is I'm very wary of interfering with the natural flow of things. However, I think a lot of us need a little bit of protection and a little bit of the herbal magic that is so easily and naturally available to us. Okay. So you can put it in a bath to prevent negativity. It's another nice one. It's not necessarily the big massive magic, but what a nice idea that you can make yourself feel a little bit more positive. You can plant it near doors and windows for protection against negativity also. The flowers can be pulverized and used as incense, another nice thing. Make your house smell vaguely of apples. It can be used with a green candle to attract money or a black one for banishing. Most things I've needed to banish from my life tend to manage to do it by force of will. But yeah, and if you need to attract money, I don't know whether you if you really need to attract money. Don't know whether you've got a green candle in your house. But, you know, these ideas are quite nice, I think. And if you have got stuff, then use it nicely. And picture of the Celtish god there. Okay, so we'll go on to the tarot. Okay, so once again we've got to our tarot bit, this time for Chamomile, and I do have, so I've ordered this lovely new oracle set, so oracle rather than tarot. Just get it in front of the camera for you. It's called the Herbal Astrology Pocket Oracle. And it's by Adriana Ayales, and the artwork is by Josephine Clerks. Excuse me. So I have shuffled all the cards of a few different decks, and I'll tell you what the decks are as I come to them. Didn't have any association with Chamomile with my usual Herbal tarot that I use, this one by Michael Tierra and Candice Cantin. Nothing particularly for Chamomile, but in my new oracle deck we did have this lovely card for Chamomile. I just want to say about the tarot, now I use the tarot and the oracles as I use them. I'm not going to tell you that the spirits are talking to me through them, because I've not ever been aware of that. When the day comes when I am aware of that, I will say so, but not before. But I find them really useful, these oracle and tarot cards, to galvanise my thoughts, and to give me a different perspective. You know, you can talk to your friends and you can talk to your family, and of course they'll give you their perspective and they'll give you advice. But sometimes to use the cards, or I use the I Ching quite a lot, or the runes, gives you an ancient perspective, an archetypal perspective that for me gives a very nice overview of almost any situation I am. And that's what divination really consists of. Not sure why and when and how it became so scary and taboo for Christians particularly, and then later the scientific minded of us. But a lot of people are very scared, nervous of using this kind of wisdom. I find it beautiful, so I'm going to carry on. And predictably, their description of chamomile is inner peace. And I'll read you briefly what the book has to say about it. A lot of it's what I've told you already about how it was ruled by the sun, and the Romans and the Greeks. We have the sun god Ra in the Egyptian wisdom, and Romans and the Greeks. Helios is associated with chamomile, the Greek god of the sun. So during the Middle Ages, European doctors frequently prescribed chamomile syrups and ointments to treat various ailments, most of which we've talked about. It was also used as a bittering agent in beer. Vikings regarded chamomile as one of 9 sacred herbs and used it to soothe digestion and as a rinse for their hair to give their braids strength and shine. And I use chamomile all on my to retain the last vestiges of any blonde hair I ever had in amongst the grey. Okay, so although chamomile embodies the shining sun, it says here that its medicinal qualities are also aligned to the archetype of the moon. The moon rules the gastrointestinal system, as we've seen, very much affected by chamomile, the emotional body and the nervous system. And we talked about when some people particularly take any kind of stress into their gastrointestinal system. On a soul level, chamomile flowers assist us in releasing stored emotional tension from our stomach, nervous system, and solar plexus. Chamomile deeply nurtures our emotional landscape, able to soothe emotional distress and psychic stresses. If you find yourself often triggered and consumed by small stresses, be aware that they accumulate, creating a chronic state of disharmony and fear. Chamomile today is reminding you to not project your fears onto life and onto others. Allow yourself a state of internal peace and give yourself the greatest love imagined. Chamomile, like the deer energy, so you can see she's got deers in with the chamomile on this card, instills a contained centre of innocence, warmth and light within us. Deer blesses us with the power of gentleness to heal our wounds and the heart mind of wounded feelings. Don't push hard to do the work. It's the gentleness of spirit that heals all. It's rather lovely. So I have spent time with these cards today. I was a little bit disappointed exactly, but left a bit meh about my readings for borage. So I'm hoping with extra attention we'll get a better reading for chamomile. So I'm going to start with the Herbal Tarot. As I said before this, so I spent quite some time getting everything the right way up and shuffling correctly, so that when you do get a card the wrong way up, it will mean something, you know, the reversal will mean something. I'm just doing this again because I've just seen, I think when I shuffled, a load of them reversed, rather too many, so I'm just getting them right again, and then we'll have another quick shuffle and see what my deck says about chamomile and this internal peace, gentleness, anti-inflammatory, anti-insomnia. So if we do get a reversed card, it might well be something that is affecting us that chamomile would indeed remedy. We'll see. I'm going to cut it off here and come back for part 2 of the tarot. Okay, I split the video because of time, no other reason. Because if I go on too long, then my editing whatever it is that I use won't accept the video, and to send it as well, I have to send it from one computer to another, so makes it very difficult if it's too long. So these cards have had a really good shuffle. I've also cleaned the space with sage. So I do all these things in faith, really, just because that's what people have always done. As I said, I have no reason to say yet whether it's any particular ancestors or spirits that are speaking through me. But I do have faith in the wisdom of the cards. I've studied them enough to understand why I think they're important and valid. This is also another reason why I split the different subjects, you know, the science and the tarot, split them up into different sections. So if you want to ignore the sections you don't like, of course, go ahead. Personally, as an eternal student, I'm too curious to ignore anything much. And I've loved where tarot and the I Ching and things like that have led me. So just this last, put them in 3 piles, another little ritual, use your left hand only. Again, not entirely sure why, but quite happy to go along with that. Also, when I remember, also this little knock is quite a popular thing to do. And then I would just, you'll hear me shuffling, nothing much going on visually. Oh, there's one already, death. The death card. Okay. Any more for chamomile? Any more to tell us about chamomile's properties? What we can use chamomile for, and the spirit of the plant. Oh, another one liked it when I said spirit. You see, this is how. That's the broken heart card. So, and I'll talk about it, but the broken heart card is actually a very mental card. It's not a cups card like you would think with your emotions in the heart. Got a bit of shine on there, sorry. There you go. I'll show you it the right way up. Came out reversed. I'll show you it the right way up. If I can find, oh, there it is. Find where to show it. There you go. So the 3 of Swords. So actually, it's not a cups card. It's a mental card, because so the swords are about air and intellectuality and mentality. And when you are broken-hearted, you're actually often far too much up in your own head rather than in your heart. So that the 3 of Swords alludes to that, this mentality, you know, how you think you feel. So certainly chamomile would calm down that kind of destructive mentality that comes along with a broken heart. I will read I'm just saying what I can think immediately about these cards, but I will read the actual meanings from the book as well. So this last one is justice. So we'll see, I think that's enough. I think that's quite a nice 3 to be getting on with. So the death card is one of the major arcana. And the death card is symbolically used for clearing the past, letting go of old ways of being, protecting oneself from possible karmic reactions to past deeds. Rebirth, the end of the old, the beginning of the new, letting go of the past and things no longer needed. So chamomile would certainly help that transition from like old you to new you, by calming everything down and returning to this innocence that they spoke about, this lovely centre of innocence that the chamomile shares with the deer in the cards that we have here, which would be what this death card is talking about. You know, forget the mistakes you've made and who wronged you, and all that sort of thing, by using this death card to go forward. And much the same with the Three of Swords. So this reversal of the Three of Swords, which I've already said is about the mental side of heartbreak, leave it behind, you know, and chamomile will give you the serenity and the calmness of vision to leave all this rubbish really behind. I'll just say what what they say about the Three of Swords reversed. Yeah, letting go of injury and pain. I mean, this also, this Three of Swords could also be indicative of cardiorespiratory disease. So again, where your heart and your respiratory system is negatively affected by holding on to negative emotion. Remember, the chamomile is recommended in a bath or on your pillow to get rid of this negativity. And then we come to plantain, which is the Justice card. Next one. Which is adjustment, making things right, correct allotment of time, finances and attention. So again, this calm way of looking at things, not letting your head screw you up, you know, keeping it nice and calm. I'm going to stop again because we've run on quite a lot. So I'm going to end it on this last one. So I'm so pleased with this reading. I was so tempted to do another reading for the borage because I was disappointed, but that would not have been particularly authentic of me. So I'm going to just go with what the cards are giving me. So if they don't give me much, or I don't see much in them, maybe you can help me out by commenting. And plus there's going to be far better tarot readers than me out there, you know, always willing to learn. So now we're looking at this. This is rather lovely too. It's not particularly as scary as it sounds. This is the Deep, Dark and Dangerous Oracle. And we'll see what they have to say, if anything, about chamomile herb. Again, I've already shuffled these. So just this last little go. Split the pack up into 3 and then pick them back up all with my left hand. Give them a little knock and then see what they want to give us. And I would definitely have to read these. This is all archetypes that I'm not particularly familiar with. Got one dropped on the floor already. And this is Kia. Probably the wrong pronunciation. And it's service. It's called service. So all these archetypes come from different religions and ways of being. And I've never had one of these in one of my readings before, so I can't tell you anything about it. But it's about service. So we'll look. Number 22. Service. Service does not mean servitude. Service should not be blind or bind you. Do not give your time to people who do not appreciate you. Justice will be done. So it's reiterating this justice again. So the duality of the card is service versus servitude and misunderstanding versus understanding. The Murmalikia, spelt, in case anybody knows any more about it, I'll put it up again so you can see the spelling. Mormolykea, and they give no clue about the pronunciation. So the Murmalikia were female demons of the underworld associated with the goddess Hecate. The term can be translated to mean terrible wolves. There is confusion about what the Murmalikia actually were. Many scholars believe that they could be as benevolent as, say, the boogeyman used to scare children into being good, or completely at the other extreme, blood-sucking shapeshifters who preferred young men to eat. So it's about eating men, maybe. Remembering that dark goddesses, such as Hecate, had their stories twisted for the negative. Once Christianity washed over the continent, the truth of the Murmalikia may have been somewhere in between. Hecate was said to have control over dogs and wolves, and that canines of all kinds barked when she was near. This alone would atone for the fact that Hecate may have had wolves or wolf-like creatures working with her. She may too have had demons, which were benevolent creatures, not demons, but Daemons, demons working with her to assist her in revenge or justice. These may have been terrible to look upon, or it may have been terrible to feel their wrath. If indeed Murmalikia were the monsters they were made out to be, these women who were vampiric and took the form of beautiful seductresses, then their victims may not have been all love and light either. Not always is being of service easy. Not always is finding justice easy. So I would say, when you've needed to start again, when you've needed to leave a broken heart behind, you have to have faith that justice will come. And as long as your service is not in servitude, and you can balance and be peaceful and serene about your position, justice will come for you, I guess. Okay, thank you for watching. Please give me your input. And next week's CathyNan's ABC will be dealing with D for dandelion.